Gina, thank you so much for sharing your valuable time with us today.
Thank you. I can't tell you how many movies I've seen in this actual theater. Way too many.
So, seeing that you're born and raised here in Jefferson City, what did you enjoy doing as a child?
You know, I was very active. I was a tomboy growing up, so I was always into something. Building tree houses, hopping trains that ran along the river on Hazelton Drive. I went to Memorial Park a lot and went to the swimming pool. Loved that. And I loved going to the Lake of the Ozarks as much as I could too. But I had a lot of fun in Jeff City growing up.
What did you dream about doing when you were young?
You know, I'm not really sure that I mean, I never really knew what I wanted to do when I grew up. And there's still a part of me now that doesn't really know exactly. Like I feel like, you know, this is what I want to do, but I've got so many other plans too.
You mentioned Lake of the Ozarks, so it holds a special place in your heart. Can you elaborate a little bit about that?
Growing up, I had two different sets of grandparents that I was very close with, and they both had places at the lake. So I was at the Lake of the Ozarks all the time. And one set of grandparents I had, they had a pontoon boat, and we'd all get on the pontoon and we ride around, and that was really cool. And then my other set of grandparents, at that point, they had a houseboat. So we would spend the night on that. But then they also had a ski boat that they would take me out on, and they would pull me skiing. So I was literally had those little wooden Dick Pope Jr. trainer with a little rope tying them together, learning how to ski when I was, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 years old. It's ironic that I didn't actually work at the lake until I graduated college. And then I wanted that one last fun summer job. And that's when I worked at the Lodge of the Four Seasons and gave water ski lessons and gave lake tours and rented boats and ran around with Captain Granning on that big, the Seasons Queen boat. And I learned so much history about the lake just hanging out with Captain Granning. He was a phenomenal guy. A lot of people were intimidated by him, and so they kind of avoided people that worked on the dock, kind of just tried to stay away. But I loved him, and when no one wanted to go out, you know, on the boat because he was a little gruff or whatever, like I always, you know, volunteered to do that because I knew I was going to learn something that I didn't know about the lake. Mostly just about, like, you know, people, like families that lived in different houses and the kind of business that they were in, and just, you know, historical things.
So how did your education work with you to get you where you are today?
I had quite a few business classes as well, but that was really helpful. And then when I moved to Kansas City and started taking the paralegal certificate classes, there are so many similarities to being a trial paralegal and film producer, because you are putting on a show, you're producing something for an audience of people to, you know, in a courtroom setting, to decide, you know, what they think is right and fair and all of that.
Any person that has led you to where you are now?
I think really just my grandparents who raised me, really just telling me I could do anything I wanted to do, and I should just anything, as long as I work hard, I can do it. There are no limitations. So I never believed there were any limitations to anything. I just thought whatever I decided to do, I would be able to do it. And I think that was such a blessing, you know, even though at the time, you know, you hear that stuff and as a kid, you know, it doesn't have the same meaning, but it gives you kind of a core set of beliefs to believe in yourself, that you really can go out there and do anything that you want to do if you set your mind on it and work hard and hang in there, stay dedicated.
How did you transition from, you know, being a paralegal?
Really what changed everything was that American Film Institute 2-week movie making boot camp class. When I did that and spent the 2 weeks learning all about the business, I understood that there was a place for me and I could do that.
Best advice that was given to you along the way?
Pursue your dreams. So whatever you do for a living doesn't feel like a job. And then, as they say, you'll never work a day in your life if you do what you love. I don't know that that's entirely true. Go after something that you really want to do with your life, because life is short, and you get this one chance to do whatever you want to do and give it your all, and you never know where it might lead you.
Are there any struggles that you care to share about?
When I first went into this business, I just assumed, wow, I'll be producing studio movies in a couple of years. I was very unrealistic about things, which I think was a blessing in disguise, because I think if I had known the very long road it was going to be, this 20-year journey for me to really get to this point, that would have been really discouraging. So I'm kind of glad I didn't know everything that I know now.
Do you get to visit Missouri often? Did you miss anything about Missouri, or now living there, do you miss
I was
Missouri?
homesick. I missed the lake terribly, and I had the ocean now, and that's why I learned to surf and boogie board and all of that. The hardest thing was leaving my family. That's really what kept me here for so long, because I was really close to my grandparents, I was really close to my dad, and it was so hard to leave them.
Or any of your 14 previous films that you'd like to share a little bit about with us?
The two that were kind of turning points for me really were, and ironically, they were both romantic comedy films, but Girl Play and Out at the Wedding were turning points in my career, definitely.
What did you find special about the script of Senior Moment?
I think it just goes back to, even though I'm a producer in this business, I go back to myself as an audience member. Like, what do I like to see as an audience member and a movie lover myself? And when I read this script, it reminded me of a Nancy Meyers film. And that's kind of the stuff that I love so much. Even though I've produced other types of movies, I love that there weren't enough stories being told about older audiences. So I felt like that was a really good built-in audience for this, even though it is for a broad audience. I saw all the characters, which tells you that it's a really well-written script. I could see it all in my head, and I saw William Shatner this whole time, and I never saw anyone else in that leading role.
That's
so
great.
I feel very lucky that I was able to get him and work with him.
You said you always visualized William Shatner being in this role, but what was it actually like?
I remember the first day of filming of this, and I was just standing there, and there's William Shatner and Gene Smart and a large film crew and all of these trailers and bangers outside, and just thinking, oh my God, I'm producing this movie. Like, I almost couldn't believe it for a moment. It was that first day was like, wow, like, how did this happen? It was a very almost unbelievable moment.
And you also had a couple of Lake of the Ozarks folks, like Rodney Stone.
So Rodney, I met on the Celebration boat at the Lake of the Ozarks. Someone that knew him and knew me said, oh, you need to meet this guy. And so this guy walks up to me with a smile this big and just gives me a big bear hug. And he's like, I'm Rodney Stone. I've been hearing all about you. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. We've got a lot to talk about. And he's just a wonderful person. And we just bonded instantly, and we became really good friends. And so when Senior Moment came along, and I was to the point where I was looking for investors and executive producers on this movie, I reached out to Rodney. I'm going to help you, and I know some people that can step in here as executive producers and financing, and one of those people was David Visser. So Rodney Stone and David Visser joined my team, and they're executive producers on the movie, and this is all because of the Lake of the Ozarks. So all roads really lead back to the lake. It was really hard to not laugh while we were filming certain takes where we needed to be quiet. There's a certain scene where Gene Smart and Bill Shatner are in bed together. It's just this really funny scene, and he kind of ad-libs this line, and it's the funniest thing. And I was just like, oh, trying not to laugh. Like, William Shatner is so funny, and so is Christopher Lloyd. My gosh, trying not to laugh while you're filming a comedy, I think is one of the hardest things.
Is there a particular message that you really want to convey to your audience members when they watch this movie?
You're never too old to fall in love is the message of the movie. I was very blessed that we shot this movie before the pandemic. I don't think I would have been able to put this back together because of when you have 36 actors with speaking roles, their schedules book out 5 years at a time sometimes, and I would have never been able to coordinate all of that back together. So
moving on to personal, what brings you joy in your life?
my girlfriend Maria, she's, as you see, is a burst of sunshine, and she brings me great joy. And my family and friends that I'm now getting to see more of that this movie's done. So I'll get to have a little bit more of a life and get to do that too. And also, I'm excited to go on to my next project also that I have with my director, Giorgio Serafini. We're almost like siblings at this point. He's such an awesome guy and he's so talented. So we're going to go off and do a couple of other projects together, one other movie project, and then a series spin-off project of Senior Moment.
Oh.
Actually, this is something that we have in the works.
Oh, that's exciting. That's great. Because
Yes.
you're getting so many rave reviews already.